Yeah.
Can I ask you some questions now?
Yeah.
All right, because you impress me, and I'm curious about you. Like, how do you go about your day? You know, you face life's coming at you, whatever things coming at you, and I like what you said in a previous conversation that we had that about like you're always doing the work, whether you're on vacation, when you're, you know, it's like you never stop doing the work.
Yes.
You know, thinking about, caring about how you feel, thinking about what you're putting out, what's coming, all that sort of thing. And and to me that means that you spend less time reacting to what is and more time, well, responding, consciously, deliberately creating, you know, through your thoughts and through your thinking. And I want to be there. So what can you tell me to help me get there and be less distracted by what is and stuff that's going on and around me, and sort of keep my focus somehow, get my focus where it should be, and be more aware of, you know, think, feel, think, feel, think, feel. How
Well,
do you?
one thing I would say to you then is um, the first thing that you could, there are so many things that you could do, but one thing you can do is um, practicing presence within yourself, because presence is the opposite, or presence of, or consciousness of something is the opposite of unconsciousness.
Mhm.
You learn to become present with your emotions and your thoughts. Now you have opened up a whole new world of heightened sensitivity to what is. This means I can more clearly feel if a thought I'm thinking does not feel good. So I can more clearly feel if I want to change that thought. And I can more clearly feel if I am now creating a reality that I want to perceive through, if it feels like a positive or negative emotion to me. I am also now able to open up my eyes to potentially the things that are already within me, and I can see this sort of painting or emotional, energetic structure that's within me. And so now I have access to all of those things that previously I was not as in such a deep closeness to or connection to. So you've upped your game, because now you're more conscious of what you are and what you're thinking and feeling.
But what's the process though? I mean, how did you get there? I don't think I understand.
Um, you mean how did I?
How do you keep yourself from getting distracted?
Well, in my case, I've been in a very disciplined bubble of shifting myself. And I have lost interest naturally within my being of all other things, because it is so important for me specifically as a person to focus on that. All of my being is driven and um, infested towards that, so to speak. And so everything else becomes painful because it's resistance towards what wants to happen.
No. I mean, and not if it's fun, not if it's pleasant, then it's not resistance, right? You
No.
mean anything that distracts you from, I mean, you, you clearly, you love what you're doing. It's very important to you.
Yes.
And, you know, this is very important to me too. But I still find myself being very distracted.
I want to ask you
Nothing
something.
more important than this to me, frankly, because I mean, what could be more important, really, when you've sort of understood how things work and the potential that's out there, and that you create your reality, and that you can, you know, create whatever you like and experience whatever you like, and feel. I mean, that's the reward. It's not the thing, the manifestation. It's the feeling of feeling good. Of course, is what you want to be at. What could be more important than trying to become a master at that or get good at that? So, um,
So I shouldn't be telling you. I should be asking you.
Go ahead.
What does your being want to do? What do you feel that your being is calling you towards?
Well, there's many things, I suppose, but ultimately, I mean, everything that I might want, everything, every experience, every relationship, every state of being, everything is because you think you're going to feel good, you know, when you're there, when you have it, when you've achieved it. So that's really the ultimate goal, is to feel good, to be happy. And I know that you don't, and not to need anything external to get me there, right? Just to be there. And then, of course, I understand if I'm there, hanging out there in that place, then all those things will come anyway. You know, I'll be having a nice time, nice life experience. That's what I want. That's what I want ultimately. I mean, there's lots of things or experiences and places I'd like to go and things like that. Those are small things, really. And does that answer your question, or do you want specifics, or what?
Well,
no?
Let me ask you this, because this is fun.
Yeah, I love talking about what people want.
Yeah. So like, if I ask you, what are you most excited about in your life right now? What comes up into your mind as the first thing?
Wow. These are hard questions.
Not if you allow.
They are.
The answer is...
Well, yeah, that's true. You know, sometimes it's fun to talk to you, sometimes it's not when you're clever and everything. So I have to be honest with myself. Please, okay. Well, what do I want? I want, can you narrow it down to a field or an area? I mean, right now, okay, I'll tell you something. I'll just sort of free flow or whatever. Okay, well, ask me, please.
Is there something that you can feel in your peripheral view, so to speak, is there that you do not currently have the courage to admit to? You don't have to say what it is. I just want you to feel into, is there something I am currently not admitting to myself?
You mean that I want?
Mm-hmm.
Something that I want that I'm not admitting to myself that I want.
Because when I asked you that question, is there something that's sort of here, but you don't really want to see it?
Well,
because everyone wants something.
Of course. And I want lots of things. I just don't know how many of those things I want to make public.
Oh, that's okay.
I'm
going to interrogate you after this call, though. No, I'm just kidding.
That's fine, and I will do all that. But because this is actually, Elin, a really fun conversation to have. When you start asking people what they want, and seeing whether or not it's really what they want by if they get excited or if they're just like, oh, this would be good. I'd like to do this, I'd like to do that, or if they start, you know, this is what would be so cool, that sort of thing. And so I would love to have that conversation with you. But I like the way you're asking this because, you know, I can see how I may be not really, I don't know, honest with myself in a sense, maybe. I know there's a lot of resistance. I know, like, I want something, but because I think of what other people will think, or people I care about, or whoever, that's resistance to actually, is it okay to have this? And I know, of course, any desire anyone has is valid, and there's no judgment or anything like that. So I get that, again, intellectually. But when it comes down to, being honest with you, you know, it's interesting. One of the questions in my school, in the application, the question I added to this, we have an application. We're an international art school, Högskola Nivå, you know, as an alternative to Konstfack, the Royal Academy, that sort of thing. So it's people from 18 to, you know, 60 or something, students. They're all adults. Anyway, so we have a question in there, application, about, the last question in the application is, if money were no object, because that tends to really restrict our thinking, doesn't it? How will I afford this? How could I ever do that? How would I live if I wanted to do this, right? So if money was not an issue, if we had billions of euros tucked away somewhere, that was never a concern. What would you do with your life? What would you wake up in the morning and do every day? After you went shopping and traveled and, had a crazy time with all this money that you suddenly have. But what would you like to just get up and do every day? How would you spend your time? And that's really revealing when we get the answers back from students, from potential students. If someone writes back, I think once actually someone did write back, I would work with horses. And then I said to them, then why waste time coming here, to our school? Is this just a little, do something that involves horses, go with that. That's what you should be doing. But that's really the way to think about it, I think, is if you could free yourself in that way.
So I want to say two things.
What do you want to say?
First thing is, maybe the first step after this call in your life, in your life continued after this. No, but right. It's not maybe to share it with all of us, but to at least think about within yourself, what do I want? And perhaps you could, for example, if you want like a practical thing, because I'm like all about like little practices and like stuff. So if you want, you could, for example, think about it honestly, write a list, and then you could ask yourself, is there anything opposing this vibration within me? So if I want this, okay, what parts of me does not want this?
But that's not something negative. But isn't that looking for something negative? Wouldn't it be of more value to ask, why do I want this? Because that's no resistance.
You could do
why?
It. Yeah.
Awesome. Because it would be this, because it would be that. It'd be fun, it'd be amazing, whatever. I'd feel like this, I'd feel like that.
Yes. And here's the thing. If there's no restriction within you, then there's no problem. You can just go for it. However, if it rises up something of fear, then you can do whatever you choose to do with that.
I can see the value in that.
If there was no fear, you'd already be doing it.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I know there's a lot of it.
And the second thing I wanted to say,
okay,
isn't it interesting? This is going to be like interesting to hear. But isn't it interesting that when I asked you the question, what do you want? Your consciousness began focusing into something. And you told me about a specific situation from your school in which someone wanted something and you told them, well, why don't you go for it? Why are you here? So maybe, because sometimes our subconscious have a funny way of matching that question we have. And it's through our own saying and where our focus begins to shift towards. And so that's a way of allowing answers in too.
Yeah, I can see that. But now back to you. What do you want? Do you want to be something? You talk about this bubble that you've been in, right? Yes. Which I respect that. That's cool. I mean, that's how you get work done, real work done, I suppose. When you're excluding other things, or you suddenly find them less interesting. When you're doing this kind of, personal work with yourself, that you find other distractions not as interesting or perhaps trivial or whatever. And so you just tend to shut them out. But I mean, how do you want to live? You don't always live in a bubble, do you? Do you want to be some guru on a hillside somewhere in a cave, writing books?
Well, I have a plan, so to speak.
You do.
A lot of things that I want to do. And, I've been going back and forth within me, trying to figure out what I actually do want, because it's hard, yeah. So, where I believe I will be going in the future is actually focusing on where I am, which is my country and, my area of living, and focusing on, well, what specific dynamics exist within this part of the world that I could help with in different ways. And
is that why you do your videos in Swedish?
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. I think it's very great.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do. I mean, yeah, I mean, I wish they were in English. I mean, I struggle sometimes, you know, to catch everything, and I'm glad for the subtitles now and then. But
Yeah. But the
cool.
good thing is that Swedish
It's like,
people, they understand English quite well. So I think it's no problem to do certain things in English, because I think people, at least.
yeah, I'm sure that's true. But the fact that you don't really tailors it to an audience. You know what I mean?
Yes. Yeah.
That sort of respecting a very particular audience. I think it's, yeah. So sure that you can do it in English and have a wider audience, but that's what you're saying now is that's not really your audience.
Well, that's the thing about feeling a sense of purpose. It's, I have to go along with whatever my being is driven towards, which is my ultimate happiness.
Right,
And
right.
as it is right now, it's 100% being here.
In Sweden.
Yes.
Is it?
But we'll see in the future. I don't know.
Yeah.
We'll see.
I wanted, what are your interests? I mean, what do you do?
Well, here's the thing. I always find it very difficult to speak about myself, because I never know what to say. I have so many interests, and at the same time I have none. Like, that's how my personality works. If you ask me something about myself, I'm like, I can't just give you a just simple answer. But okay, let me say this. I make music and I sing and I
have a beautiful voice.
Well, thank you.
I mean, you know that already, but I'm just saying, yeah, I did saw one of your videos. It was, wow.
Oh, thank you.
Whoa. All that and that voice too. It's like, Jesus, man. Yeah, impressive. Beautiful.
Thank you. That's like, yeah, that's one of my biggest interests. And yeah, what else? There's so much that I love to do, and I think I can find fun things in like anything. Like, I don't enjoy football, but I can allow myself to enjoy football. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I think that's a hugely valuable skill, because then you're going to be happy in most situations, or you can find a way to be content, happy, satisfied in wherever you're at, watching whatever, with, you know, that sort of thing. So that's huge, I think, to be that. Yeah. So I imagined that you had this sort of very active life, right?
Yeah.
When it seems to me, and that it's very sort of introspective and yeah, thoughtful, sort of different than sort of what I thought, I guess.
Yeah, I think a lot of people think I am something that's the opposite of who I am. And I think
how did it happen that way?
You know,
what made you become so thoughtful?
well, I've never been comfortable in the setting that young people often enjoy. As you said, I think a lot of people project what they expect of me, and then I am very much not like that. And that can also become a conflict for me, as like, it's important for me to show people who I actually am, because it's very painful to have people not know who you are.
I think you do that with your videos, you know, with your
That's
YouTube.
my space, yeah, for sure.
That is, yeah, that's impressive. That is, I mean, that's just the suitable word, is impressive. It's, you know your thing, you're aware of it, you know, you know it, and you speak from knowing, not from what you believe, what you've read, what you think is probably true. You speak from a place of knowing, and that's wonderful. And that also makes, you know, I think certainly me take you seriously, very seriously, and others too. I think because of that, they feel that, they sense that too, I think.
Well, thank you. You're very kind. And I really very much appreciate this opportunity, because not only is it just a conversation, and not only is it a conversation where we get to meet and share perspectives and learn things from each other, but it's also, you know, it has been important for me personally, because it has been my first opportunity to, you know, do something else other than my other videos that I've made, and just like sort of speak without a script, or you know, just have a more personal up close thing. And
Yeah.
so I want to thank you really for taking that and following that thing within you that said, let's do it. Because
well, you know, like we said before, there's no coincidences. I mean, you created this too, didn't you? I mean, it wasn't me, it was us. I guess somehow, you know, there was a match, and this happened. It's been yeah, wonderful, I think.
yeah,
I think it's worth, you should yeah, you should have an interview video of you, to sort of people to, I don't know how important it is actually for people to know much more about your background, actually, if that's really that important. But I think you touched on it a little bit when in another conversation that we had about, you know, where you get this knowing and how it comes to you,
yes,
and from what place within you. And that, I think, is a great, interesting story that would be nice to share with people.
yes,
How, you know, yeah, that it's from you,
yes,
and not from whatever source, you know, you're reading it. I'm not
yeah,
getting it from me. I'm getting it from other places, other sources, right? And then it resonates or it doesn't. Then it
yes,
fits or it doesn't. And you know, my inner being tells me, yep, you know, listen to that, pay attention, or, you know, or not, whatever. But I think it's really special to, and you're fortunate, you know, to get it and know it with such certainty and everything. I think it's really exciting. I've just enjoyed this very much.
yeah,
It sort of felt like the conversation that I intended to have with you about the subconscious thoughts ended a while ago.
yes,
And you know, I digest this, you know, what we've talked about, and think about it some more. I'm sure I have more questions for you too about this, and so I might want to return to it or something like that. But I think this has been great. I think it's been a lot of fun.
yes.
Thank you.
I've had such a good time. And again, thank you so much for this opportunity. And I'm sure we're going to do this again at some point in some form.
Absolutely. It's been very fun.
So yeah, take care, and I'll talk to you.
You too.
Okay,
Goodbye,
bye.
everyone.